And welcome into another episode of the Alliance Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Bam Rivers. And if you watched our last episode, you were blown away because we did a deep dive into the insurance portion of the roofing and the construction world. And we had Mr. Josh Haugen, who is an independent insurance agent, and he was so fire, we had to bring him back again. So Josh, welcome back, man.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's been a long time since you've been back, but I'm glad you had it. That's a joke. You wasn't a long time at all, okay? But listen, you did such a great job just breaking down the insurance portion of it. And now I want to know more about the man behind it, because somebody who is so powerful, who is so knowledgeable about what it is that you do, there has to be a strong foundation there. And I want people to realize that with a strong foundation, anything is possible. So if you don't mind, let's get into that. I want you to talk to us about your beginnings, about your past, and how you actually got into the industry of being an independent insurance agent.
Sure. That started June 1st, 2001. My hometown was hit by a hailstorm. And so the very first claim I ever touched in my whole career was my mama's house.
Close to home.
Her insurance company come by and gave her a $500 check, and she was tickled pink. None of us knew anything. Shortly after that, I was employed by a roofing company that was dealing with all the hail damage. And within my first week, I knew Mom got worked over by her insurance carrier.
Wow.
I called her adjusters back to her house 2 more times before we got fair settlement. And that reproduced itself through my career over and over and over. I'll call her Miss Betty because that's usually what her name is. She's a widow. They've done business with a carrier for 30 years. Her husband's dead. All she's known is for 30 years they send a check to this insurance company, and they've had a good business relationship. And then they show up and give her $1,000, and you come in behind them and you know that isn't going to cut it.
Right.
So for 20 years, one way, shape, or form, I have been fighting for fairness in the claims industry. Whether it was as a contractor myself or as an adjuster, I'm looking for fairness on any given claim.
Now, you have a lot of personal beliefs, and I understand what drives you. And, you know, it's so funny that a personal experience is what brought you into this industry. Talk to us about some of the situations you've had with other customers and how the beliefs that you've had and how seeing your mom go through that ordeal has helped you benefit them at an even higher level.
Well, you end up forming a direct emotional connection to a disaster. Last year, up here in Kentucky and Northwest Tennessee, they got some pretty significant tornadoes come through the area, and I work those. And you show up to somebody's house, and it's just gone. Like you got a slab foundation and everything they've ever owned their entire life scattered across the field. I'm that guy that gets to show up that day and give you your life back. I'm going to call your insurance company. I'm going to let them know you need an immediate place to live. And it's like I'm giving a big eraser and all your problems just start melting away. And that's part of really what drives me in this. When there's hurricanes that hit Florida, my truck has got onboard Wi-Fi, 110 plugs built into it. I carry a camp kit, freeze-dried food, and I'll go into the hardest hit areas with no water, no fuel, no electricity, and just start restoring people's lives to the way it was the day before the storm hit.
Helping people get their lives back. See, so what I really want people to realize is that there's nothing wrong with doing the job and wanting to be compensated for it, especially if you're good at what it is that you do.
We all got to earn a living.
We got to earn a living. But what I know and what I've known for a long time and what you realize by the way that you're speaking is that focusing on the needs of your customer is going to be the reason that that byproduct of being financially well off happens. Right? And it's going to be the reason that people recommend you to other individuals. So I want to ask you this as well, because as good as you are at your job, I know that everything's not easy. Sure. I know that sometimes there are roadblocks that you have to overcome. What are some of the biggest challenges being an insurance adjuster?
A steep roof, honestly. That is my number one challenge, is a steep roof. Once you start hitting 10, 12, it gets very hard to hold on to anything. And then in the summertime especially, the special boots we wear, cougar paws, when those shingles get too hot, the pads melt.
Oh, wow.
And rather than sticking you to the roof, they break off in little beads. And it's like trying to stick to the roof with a bunch of ball bearings under your feet.
Wow.
So a steep, tall roof is by far my biggest challenge.
So now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm learning more about this industry myself. Being able to understand the value of a home plays a part into all of this as well, correct?
It does, but I don't understand the value of the home in the same way a realtor might.
Correct. Talk to us about those differences and how they correlate.
Sure. A realtor is looking at a one lump sum in value. Okay. I'm looking at your individual components. Your roof vents have a value, your shingles have a value, your drip edge, your ice and water shield, all of it has an individual value. So when I apply value to a house, and I've had some total losses where I value the whole thing,
Right.
Even the individual studs have a value, and I calculate all of that.
So by calculating the value of what it is that you're doing, how does that help prepare you for communicating with the contractor and kind of moving forward through the process?
We use a software called Xactimate. It's pretty much universal throughout the industry. There's a couple others. One's called SimSol. I forget the name of the other one. You almost never see them. But it is through that software program that myself, contractors, the insurance carrier, and even the homeowner can understand the value of that loss, because it breaks it down into its individual components for roof, elevations, the individual rooms that are damaged, and spits you out a spreadsheet.
And I know this may be hard for you to remember because you've helped so many people over the years, but is there a couple or an individual or family that kind of sticks out to you that you've helped, just in terms of the way they've appreciated how you've helped them get their lives back, as you spoke about earlier?
It was a family in Florida.
Okay.
They got hit by a hurricane, and for the most part, their home was fine. But they lost power. They had a special needs child that required a machine. And so they wired a generator up to their home, and that fried every bit of their electrical system.
Wow.
And so now they couldn't even get their power turned back on. Their first two adjusters got busy, whatever, they called out, they didn't show up. I was the third one assigned to their loss. And they went from spending weeks in turmoil to that day, I had them in a hotel. They had these services they needed for their child. And we got the ball rolling on how to get their house fixed.
Well, again, man, there's nothing I enjoy more than listening to somebody who loves what they do. And, like I said, before we even did the episodes of this podcast, I got an opportunity to talk to you. And I just appreciate the heart that you have for what it is that you do and the heart that you have for other people. So I just want to encourage you to keep doing what you're doing. All right. So you've been here before. You're embedded in this podcast game on the Alliance Insights podcast, right? So you get the opportunity to be the first person who's in the hot seat for the second time.
Sure.
So what I want to ask you is, again, spit some knowledge to individuals. Let us know something that can continue to keep us moving towards our dreams and our goals in life, regardless of what we may be doing.
Sure. For most people, your home is the largest investment you have.
That's correct.
Yet we neglect it. We don't maintain our roofs. Storms come and go. We don't take photos. Change that. If you know the storm's coming, pull out that cell phone, hit it on record, walk around your house. Most common thing I hear from a homeowner is, it wasn't that way before the storm. Now, over 20 years, I've learned to recognize what is and isn't storm damage.
Right.
But the average person thinks I'm dumb. So if you want to protect your home, take video, maintain it, look at it. Call a roofer, have him come out once every 5 years and tune your roof up. Yeah,
absolutely. So you're basically letting everybody know they need to be more proactive when it comes to the roof rather than reactive.
And with your own home, start taking care of it.
Most definitely. Josh, it's been a pleasure again, man. Thanks for joining us, man. It's always a pleasure. Hey, Josh Haugen, listen, what else can you say? So the first episode that he was here, guys, he ran us through the insurance industry, right? But now he ran us through his history. And it's phenomenal. I think it goes to show when you love what it is that you do, you're going to be phenomenal at it. Even if it takes time, don't ever give up on yourself. And I think that's a great transition into this week's Alliance affirmation. Love yourself. I know it sounds easy. It sounds redundant. It sounds like it's a cliche, but loving yourself is the foundation for everything, because remember, God is love and you're fearfully and wonderfully created in his image. So if you are unable to love yourself amid of all your insecurities and all your faults and all your scars and all your brokenness, I want you to remember those are the things that make you beautiful. So you have to love yourself, because if you are unable to love yourself, then I promise you will be unable to love anybody else. Because there may be somebody walking by you whom you've never seen before in a simple hello or how you doing, or you look beautiful, or you're somebody that I want to get to know. That can simply change their life. Seriously, you may not know what they're dealing with, and the words that you speak to them may keep them from doing something to themselves. But a lot of times, if you're not loving yourself, you know what you're focused on? You're focused on you. And if you're focused on you, you don't have the foresight nor the peripheral to see anybody else. We want you to see yourself so you can see others. It's a whole part of this gift we have called service. And right now, this is exactly what Alliance is doing. Josh is here serving people as well. I'm going to continue to serve you, and we want you to serve not only other people, but yourself first. Hey, this has been another episode of the Alliance Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Jonathan Bam Rivers, and we can't wait to see you next time. God bless.